Hi. What we're going to be talking about is private negotiation. In fact, we're going to be touching on our 5 top tips when going into negotiation with an agent on a property. Now, I think we've probably all heard the horror story of someone going into negotiation, putting in their offer, and then just simply not hearing back from the agent. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 days go by, and crickets. Too often we hear it, and then maybe even we hear that the property ends up getting sold for something that the person was willing to pay for. It's a horror story. It's a horror story. But why does this continue to happen? Because people are not going in with and to a negotiation with the knowledge. So listen in, we've got 5 top and hot cheeky tips for you when going into private negotiating. So tip number 1 is going in with a clear strategy. You need to have a clear strategy, and on top of that, you need to have a clear number that you are not going by and not going past. That is the most important one. Going in with the strategy, absolutely knowing who your competition is, knowing how the agent works, getting any information you can on the agent, any information on the property itself, any information on the competition. That's the strategy part, and then obviously the number. You need to have a number in mind that you are not going past. So that's number 1. Tip number 2 is creating the perfect story. So what I mean by creating a perfect story is creating a bit of urgency around the vendor and for the agent to say, okay, well, we need to really start considering potentially selling to this person. So let's talk about one of our past clients. So one of our past clients, we went into a property. Now the property was going to auction. The property was going to auction on the Saturday. It was the Monday. We had gone through all the inspections, and we'd gone through the whole campaign ourselves. However, we did not want to go to auction, purely because you don't know whatever's going to happen at auction, and you've always got a bit more power when it comes to private negotiating. So what do? We created the perfect story. We knew, obviously, that there was only 5 other, interested parties in the property, okay? And we knew that the property was going to auction on Saturday. So our perfect story, our perfect world story was told to the agent, excuse me, sir, unfortunately, we can't actually make it to auction on Saturday because we have another auction that we have to attend, which we feel like we're going to have a better chance at actually securing the property at auction on the other property. So in order for us to get this property, in order for us to be still in the race, we need to do it prior to. Now, none of this is true, but it's creating the perfect story, and more so, it's creating the urgency, creating the need for the agent and the vendor to actually think, okay, well, there's only 3 or 4 interested parties. This guy is not going to be coming along. Do we start thinking about private negotiating? Now, obviously, you can throw this on a bunch of different scenarios, but you need to get the urgency from the agent, from the vendor, to think we need to really consider selling this prior to, or we need to consider selling this to this particular person. So that's number 2. Number 3 is a signed written contract. Now, the power of a signed written contract is, massive. A signed written contract delivered to the agent's door or to the vendor's house is so much more powerful than a quick little email saying, hey, I confirm that this is my offer of da-da-da-da. You need a signed written contract. Why? Because first of all, the agent sees dollar signs, always. Okay, we've got it here. All it needs is a vendor signature. And the vendor, it's making it as easy as possible for them not to waver, not to them to think and ah. It's putting it in front of them, and all they're needing is a signature to then sign, seal, and that is it. And that's the done. So that's number 3. You need to have a signed written contract in place. Number 4 is having a time limit, creating a time limit around your offer. Again, going back to the start of the video, how many times we've heard, someone going into a negotiation, giving their offer over the phone and hearing crickets. Just madness. Yes, I mean, it's on the agent to let you know, but I mean, that agent, they're not obligated to. It is on you to create the perfect story for them to accept it. Now, what that means, and again, creating that urgency again, is you need to create a time limit around your offer. You know, if I'm putting an offer in on Thursday and I know that there's an open for inspection on Saturday, rest assured that that offer runs out on Friday afternoon, okay? Don't give the vendor the chance to go and run the property to open because, again, you need to create the story. On Saturday, we're going to an auction. I'm just using another example. On Saturday, we're going to an auction we're most likely going to buy. So you need to accept the offer by Friday night, otherwise we're out. And you actually put it in writing and you say, the offer is this, the offer runs out by 6 p.m. Friday night, hence, because we're going to auction on Saturday. Creates the urgency, it makes the vendor think, and it makes the vendor think, well, this is a good offer. If I don't accept this, am I going to go better? You've got to create that urgency. You've got to be in the driver's seat. That's tip number 4. And tip number 5 is you've got to play fair. You've got to play fair in the sense that you need a bit of give and you need a bit of take. So I'll give you one here, and this is really not giving much and not taking much either, but settlement date terms, okay? I remember one of our past clients who we secured a property for, obviously in the initial discussion, we talked about her settlement date terms, okay? And we discussed the fact that, it wasn't really much of an issue whether it was 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days settlement date terms. We're in Melbourne, so that was the only 3 options. So it wasn't really much of an issue. However, for us, that's kind of leverage, and I'll explain. For the vendor, when we went to go and negotiate for the property, the vendor had to get out within 30 days, okay? Because they had purchased another property and they were moving on that, so they had to get out. So that obviously, the agent discussed that with us. And from our sense, it didn't really matter whether it was 30, 60, 90, like I said. But in order to make the agent and the vendor feel like, we were giving something, we said, well, initially when I heard it, I said, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to speak with my client because they were actually after 90 days because they're also moving out. Again, creating the perfect story. They're also moving out, but we'll see. So automatically you're thinking, oh, this may not work. The agent's thinking, oh, okay, they can only do 90 days. We came back to the agent, came back to the vendor and said, listen, we're really happy to do the 30 days for you guys. Obviously, we're happy to do that. We are happy to do that. If you could do something for us in regards to pricing, in regards to just getting this secured, very, very happy to do 30 days. Again, that there is not actually giving or taking, but that's creating something out of nothing. Again, creating that perfect story. But let's talk in different terms. You need to give and take. You need to be a bit flexible. Don't be too regimented on what needs to be done and you need to have it your way, or because at the end of the day, there's always buyers out there and the property will sell. So try and be a bit giving, try and be a bit taking. Yeah, that's how you got to do it. So there you have it, the top 5 tips. Now we'll just recap. Number 1 is having a clear strategy, having a number in place that you're not going to go by. Tip number 2 is creating that perfect story. Whether it's true, whether it's false, you need to create a story, you need to play the game. Tip number 3, a signed written contract delivered either to the vendor's house or to the agent's office. You need that. So much more powerful than simply writing an email. You need to wave that carrot in front of the vendor, in front of the agent. Tip number 4 is creating that time limit. Not hearing those crickets after you go and put in that offer. You need to create that time limit so that it creates the urgency. It creates the urgency for the agent and it creates the urgency for the vendor. And tip number 5, the final one, is you need to give and you need to take. Like the example we did give before in regards to the settlement date terms, this can apply to everything. You need to give, for all terms. You need to really make it out to be a win-win scenario for both parties, not just you take and they give. So there you have it. 5 tips. Go out, go use them, and see if it's successful. They will work. All the best. Bye.